Good morning. We are here with Katia Garrett, and she is getting ready to depart the NAIP community for a new adventure, to be determined what that is. But wanted to spend a few minutes with her this morning and just get her perspective on being a part of this community. And so, Katia, tell me, overall, when you think about being a part of the NAIP community, how has that really benefited your program and your adventure here?
Well, our program wouldn't be where it is without the NAIP community. One of the first things that I discovered when I accepted the position of the executive director of the DC Bar Foundation was I searched IOLTA on the web. I found NAIP. I learned that there was some kind of workshop or conference and got myself signed up to jet out to Chicago for a conference probably that was 4 weeks after my first day on the job. Within the first hour, I realized that I was in the presence of a community of incredibly talented, bright, well-informed, generous people. These are folks who know soup to nuts running nonprofits, the inner workings of financial institutions and banks, and with such an incredible generosity to share that information with colleagues. I had gone to the meeting under orders to come back with a map for how to do a revenue enhancement campaign. I returned from the meeting with a much longer outline of what we needed to do to bring our IOLTA program into the 21st century. We started working on it, and we've made great progress in that regard, and all because of the NAIP community, the information that was shared and the support that I've gotten from colleagues and others.
Well, I would think all of our colleagues would agree. As much as you say you've received from NAIP, you've really contributed to the community as well. You've served on the board, been an active presenter at various panelists. I was really intrigued in reading your release about your tripling, I think, your revenue for your program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, first I started in 2005, and for those of you who've been around IOLTA for a while, you remember that those were that was the golden era when the federal funds rate was going up. It hit 5.25. And again, at the workshops, I learned about efforts to launch and implement prime partner programs, and came back from the first workshop saying, we need to bargain with our banks. We started bargaining at the time. We were getting interest rates that looked embarrassingly low, and now they would be, of course, quite high. But we ended up getting even Citibank to pay us 4% on our IOLTA balances. Our revenue went up from about $500,000 my first year on the job to $2.4 million. And that was just IOLTA. At the same time that I had started my job, there was a DC Access to Justice Commission that was created. And one of the first things that the commission did was to approach the DC Council, which is the equivalent of our state legislature, for public funding for civil legal services. They approached the Bar Foundation about serving as administrator of that funding, and again, because of my background running grant programs out of the Department of Justice, I said, look, we can handle a public grant program, no problem. And when I said we, I meant me. Because at the time it really was just me and a bookkeeper, but we ultimately hired a director of programs. That publicly funded grants program has been a godsend to our legal services community because it has brought in between 2 and 3 million every year for legal services grants. And we are privileged to administer that program. So our revenue increased from both sources. We've also been steadily working on our contributions income, following the advice that we give grantees to make sure we have diversified funding streams.
I'm really intrigued about your young lawyer efforts, and you have a program that you're working to reach out to younger lawyers. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We call it the DC Bar Foundation Young Lawyers Network. And it is a leadership group. What we're trying to do is identify the DC legal community leaders of tomorrow and make sure that they understand what legal services is, how it is a critical part of the safety net for our community, and how it's funded, and why their individual and institutional efforts to ensure the preservation and funding of legal services are such an important part of their professional obligation within our community. So as a result, we've now built up to full strength just over 30 folks We've brought in about 10 a year through a nomination process. It's very competitive to get on the network. It's open only to lawyers who are 40 or under. People literally age off of the network. And it's been absolutely terrific. We've brought in some great energy and enthusiasm and just skill to our community. They've run a few happy hours where they reach out to their peers and talk about the Bar Foundation and legal services. Some of them have rolled up their sleeves and gone out on site visits, including some of the more difficult financial audit site visits that we conduct. And we have several on our IOLTA committee that are working with us on some very interesting initiatives that we're undertaking with banks to strengthen the operation of our IOLTA program. It's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing where this network goes in the future and where these folks go in the future. I think we're going to see them on the boards of our grantees. I think we're going to see them on the board of the Bar Foundation. And I think at a minimum we're going to see them in law firms, in leadership positions, deeply committed to legal services.
That's fantastic. I think that's an issue that a lot of us deal with, and I like the model that you've developed, and it certainly is something that seems replicable to other programs in other states. So perhaps you'll see some other networks spark across the country.
I think it's so much fun. It's just fun to tap into their energy.
Exactly. Well, speaking of energy, what do you have on the horizon next for you?
Well, as you know, when I started this job as executive director of the Bar Foundation, a little over 8 years ago, it was a part-time job, and it really was part-time, and that mattered to me because I have 2 kids at home. I want to be very present and very much a part of their lives as much as I want to be very engaged in the professional community and in social justice. So whatever I do next will allow me to perhaps better balance those goals than I'm currently able to in this job. I am, in fact, a victim of our own success. We've grown from an organization with a budget of under $1 million to one with a budget of between 4 and 5, with staff of 1 part-time executive director to staff of 5, plus a pretty robust group of contractors and consultants that support the work that we do, from 1 grant program to 2 very strong grant programs, a training and technical assistance program, and a loan repayment assistance program. It's great, it's all wonderful, but it requires more hours in the day than I can give right now. I'm committed to social justice work. It's what I've done my entire professional career, and so I hope to be crossing paths with folks just wearing a different hat.
Well, absolutely. Like I said yesterday, we're not going to let you get too far. You are a fount of information, and really, when you look at all of the wonderful things that you've done with your program in a relatively short time frame, it's really outstanding. And you have, been a mentor to so many in this community, and we will certainly miss you. One last question: when you think about folks who come into the NAIP community, what would be some words of wisdom or some nuggets of advice that you would like to share?
Don't be shy. Ask every question you have. Sit down next to every person that you meet that's in this program and ask them for their best tips for being a director, for running a program, whatever you've got on your mind. Don't miss ITS or the dinner. Come to every workshop and get engaged with NAIP, because your program will have a seat at the national table, and you and your community will be the better for it.
Well, and we have been a better community because of your presence. And again, we will miss you tremendously. We are excited for your new journey, and we will definitely cross paths again.
Thanks,
Katia.
because I'm really going to miss everyone.
Well, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us this morning.